Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about two different things. First, I'll tell you the difference between the histogram and the bar chart, and then I'll explain you how the histogram works. Subscribe to my channel to get alerts on more videos on Python and data science. Now look at both of these charts. First one is the bar chart and the second one is the histogram. Now let me give you a few seconds to identify the difference between the bar chart and the histogram. Alright, the bar chart was generated based on some category. That is, for each of the applications, we are tracking the open and the close status. In the second chart, we just have the numbers in both the axes. You might be getting a clue on how it is generated. Say for example, I have an array of values and I want a similar kind of bar chart to be generated that should actually indicate me the count or the occurrence of each value or a range. So in that case, I'll go for histogram. So typically the difference is this bar chart is generated based on some category, whereas the histogram is generated based on the count or the occurrence of the x-axis values, or it can be a range of values also. The chart will be displayed as separate bars in the bar chart, whereas in the histogram, the chart will be displayed as continuous bars, meaning you will not see any gap between the bars. In the bar chart, the width of the bars are going to be the same, whereas in histogram, the width of the bars may or may not be the same. Now let's move on to the second part of the video, which is all about the creation of histogram in matplotlib. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the 1D and the 2D histograms. Let us consider this very simple example where I have a range of values. So I have an array RNG which is going to hold these values. To create a histogram, all that I have to do is to call the hist method by passing this array and the bin value. So I've given ax.hist of the array name followed by 8 followed by the face color. So how is this histogram getting generated? I have placed the data in this Excel. So in the count of the array, we can see the number of occurrences of that value. Now let's look at the histogram. Since I have values from 1 to 8, the x-axis will have values from 1 to 8. Here we can see that I have one occurrence of number 1. So we have a step of 1 which is mapping to 1 in the x-axis and the y-axis. For 2 also we have only one occurrence. So the step continues for 2. And when it comes to the number 3, we are going to have 2 occurrences of 3, and also we have 2 occurrences of 4 and 2 occurrences of 5. So the step goes up to map to the 2 in the y-axis, and the step will go on for 3, 4 and 5. We have 3 occurrences of 6. So for the value 6, the step goes up till 3, and then for 7 and 8 we have only one occurrence. So the step comes down to 1 for 7 and 8. And this is how the histogram works for 1D arrays. And in this example, we have a 1D array. So this is a one-dimensional histogram chart. In the hist method, I had passed another value which is 8. So this value is for the bins. This attribute is used to indicate the number of bins or the containers in a particular range. The bin value is 10 by default. So here we are having values only till 8. So I have given the value to be 8 to partition the data by 8 different ranges. Now let's see what happens if I give the range to be 20. It will be more like a bar chart. To add spice to this chart, I can change the color of the histogram by specifying the color in the face value attribute. So here I've given the face value to be G. So the histogram generates the charts in green color. Now let's move on to the 2D histogram chart. In case of 2D histogram chart, we are first going to have two arrays, RNG1 and RNG2, which are two different values of the range. So first, the array which is in RNG1 will be the x-axis and the second array RNG2 will be in y-axis, and histogram will be generated based on the x and the y values. In this Excel, I have placed the list of values for RNG1 and RNG2 which I have in my code snippet. I have created a pivot on it to see the values of RNG2 that are mapped to RNG1. In this histogram, we have the x-axis values from 1 to 8 because the range that is present in RNG1 is from 1 to 8. In RNG2, we have values from 1 to 68. So, the y-axis will have values from 0 to 70. Now, how is this histogram generated? For the x-axis 1, the value of y-axis is 68. So, we have a box in this area between 60 and 70 for 1. For the x-axis 2, the value of the y-axis is going to be 3. So, we have a box in this area for the x-axis 2 and the y-axis 3. For the x-axis 3, we have got two different values, 21 and 23. So, we have a box here between 20 and 30. For 5, we have the values as 23 and 66. So, for 5, we have one box here between 20 and 30 and the other box between 60 and 70. And this is how the 2D histogram chart works. Hope you have got a clear picture on the difference between the bar chart and the histogram and the creation of the 1D and the 2D histogram charts.